Conversations with Elders, hosted by yours truly, Louis-Virie Blanche, welcoming you to Glastonbury Radio 432, where we will be TED Talking in tongues with the elders of all ages, all generations, all races, cultures, and creeds. All gender, religious, or political preferences will be honored and encouraged on Glastonbury Radio 432, Conversations with Elders, where it is our treasured pleasure to roll out the red carpet of golden liquid love light to you in honor of the Queendom Come, soul dancing free to life's heartbeat drum, in honor of mother, daughter, sister, lover, priestess, goddess, friend, sharing the blessings of love's perfect stranger, Deja Vu, welcoming you to Glastonbury Radio 432.
It's too cosmic, much too cosmic for me. Much too cosmic.
Aloha, hola, aho, hello. We are rolling out the red carpet of golden liquid love light once again forevermore with our Diane Starr, who's going to be sharing her book, Hallowed Be Thy Name. And you told me that you've got the hit that Starr
Numerology
will be your brand.
Yes, and I thank you for that, because I love when you ask me questions, and especially being put on the spot, because then it just comes from a place that I can't filter it through thought. And the last time you had asked me, well, what's the name of it? I'm like, it's just numerology. And then later it kept ruminating, and then I got a hit on it, and I needed to muscle test this. And so it wants to have the last name that that I have, which is Starr. And so be it. It's Starr Numerology, and it's easy. It's an easy way to spell it, to remember it, and to identify with it. And it is, like I said, significantly different than the really good teachings I had. And I love what I learned. Like I said, I've read at least 40 or even more books, and that was the basis. So I'm grateful to that. But it just, these things come to you, as you know, when you're an artist, when you're in your flow and you're creating, and it's just, you feel like you are taking orders and dictation. So that's another order I felt I needed to take. And I don't want to put it out there because, oh, it's my ego. No, I'm doing what I think I have to do. And so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, it does seem like it's your essence. People are very focused on having brands today, but your essence is the real you. And, I asked you earlier about how the 1 through 78, the numbers related to the tarot deck, relate to your expertise with numerology. And if you please share that. I think it's so profoundly interesting.
Love to. Oh my gosh, absolutely. So all of these archetypes, and I'm using the 78 tarot archetypes, I believe they're a gift from God to us, and each one of them has its own meaning. They are powerful, wonderful tools through which we can get guidance. And each one of the numbers, the meaning they have, they will show up in your chart in a different place. Now, the meaning, the definition of the numbers, that doesn't change. But where it shows up in your chart has a significant meaning to you personally. And specifically by that, I mean our vowels. That represents our heart essence. And by heart, specifically, the things you love doing. And as we were talking about before, it takes at least 5 lifetimes to study one subject to become an expert. Or people say, wow, that person's a natural. Well, that didn't come from nowhere. People put in that effort. And what's wonderful about it is when it's in the heart number, it's effortless, because when it's your heart, you love it and you can't stop doing it. You can't get enough of it. Like for me and my numerology, you and your art, and we all have these beautiful gifts to share. So specifically, when I see a certain number in someone's heart, I see what they love to do, what they've been doing for several lifetimes, and what flows naturally and what they easily draw to them. Now that's the heart number. And then when we get to the personality number or the consonants, when I see that same number, and if it's not in the heart and if it's in the personality number, well, that tells me the type of people who are drawn to you. And it also tells me the type of energy you project out. And again, that's a very subconscious thing. We don't even think about it. Like some people have a very outgoing personality, yet they might think of themselves as shy. Well, that tells me there's a 7 in the heart somewhere, the shy, quiet. And it tells me the personality likely has a 3 because that's a very outgoing number. So our personality will draw to us those relationships that we must have later to fulfill something that's karmic, to fulfill something that's supportive. And always that's divine. And then when we add the consonants to the vowels, we get the destiny number. And when I see a number in the destiny, again, the meanings of the numbers don't change, but their meanings for us do, the position. And the destiny number represents the work we tend to do. So what we do for a living. And sometimes we love what we do for a living. Sometimes it's the same as our heart. Other times it's not. So some people, and again, for whatever reason, have chosen for their heart number to not be allowed to be expressed in the work they do. Maybe there's a lesson they're learning from that. And other people have their heart expressed in their personality as well, or in the destiny number. So sometimes you get to do what you love to do. And for some people, for a time, they're not exactly allowed to do what they love to do. And again, that's not a punishment. That's something they chose for some particular divine gift that they're receiving from that. And maybe it's like, well, I love this, but maybe now it's time for me to learn something else. So that could be why too. And then very powerful, I consider to be the most significant, is the day we're born. And I know there are people who don't exactly know when they're born. One of my best friends in the world, she was adopted, and so she would kind of guess at it. But when we get to know the day we're born, that's a gift. Not everyone does, but that spiritual path number, exactly the way I was describing it, it's like the other numbers are a part of your energy on a daily basis, like your month, day, and year, your destiny, your personality, your heart number. Those are all active all the time. Your spiritual path, that's something that God gifts to you, and you then gift to the universe, to the world. So sometimes it also shows up as your heart number. Like you get to have your spiritual path be that which you love, but not always. But so the spiritual path you were born with, and you figure that out the day you're born, and it's like that deep energy. It's like, hi, here I am. And then it goes very deep and shows up about every 9 years typically. And for some of us, there's always a challenge that we always pick. So here it is, and it's showing us, here's a challenge. Take this little piece and then see what you can do with that for healing. And then it goes down deep again. And it doesn't show itself every single day. It's more like, here I am on a cycle, more of a 9 typically. And then at the end of, like, in particular, like I was sharing with trauma, childhood trauma, a lot of times that waits until, for women, until we're postmenopausal, and for men, much older as well, until the trauma feels that, okay, now there's a quiet space. Now I can show this new aspect that needs healing that's been stuck there for a while. So the same way that we'd like to heal trauma, the same way our spiritual path likes to come and then be like, hi, here I am, and then go down deep again. And so it's a gift. And once we master that, because we master our spiritual paths, and then that's what we share with others. And so that's in a nutshell. But then there are, like, each number has its own meaning. And so I could talk about each one, 1 through 78, and the differences they are. In fact, while writing my book, I, for each number, I would focus on a person whose chart I did, or like one of my challenges. And I'm like, that's the one I'm going to use. And so I would just have that. I have my prayer first, and whoever it is I can relate that to. And then I just talk to them energetically as I'm writing this down, and like, what are the challenges and what needs to show up? And I literally tell God, what is it that you want to be written for this particular number, for the gift that it brings, and the challenges, because That's our free will and how we go through that path. So that's to answer your question there.
Well, I wondered, I told you about the gentleman I met that introduced me to Barbara. He did what he called a personal vibration code.
Mhm.
And he separated it by soul, mind, outer personality, destiny, life path, and then power number. Five different levels. You separated by 4.
Let's see, there's heart, there's personality, there's destiny, and there's spiritual path. There are those 4. And then there's also something that's karma, and then there's also something that's a challenge. So there can be a couple more, but I have 4 major ones. Correct. Yes.
The power number, the way he describes is the area of life to add that this area of life is to add a boost to who you really are and is prominent after your 30s or 40s, is how he put it.
That to me sounds like pinnacles.
Uh-huh. Because I'll describe his 5 basic soul and human qualities as how he has them listed. He says the soul number represents your real personality known only to your inner secret desire and strongest urge must be allowed expression in this life. Because of accumulated growth in past lives, it has an influence in your actions in this life. Its urge is so strong it may influence all your other numbers. That's how he wrote it. Now, outer personality is how you appear to others. Others expect this quality from you. It is the image you project.
Yes.
And I think you described that in a very similar fashion.
Yes.
The destiny, what you must do, your aim in life, the path you must walk, what you must accomplish or be. And you add this quality to yourself. In the life path, this is your most significant number according to his calculation. This is your most significant number vibration. It represents that which you must learn in this lifetime, and it is most significant in your choice of careers. And then the last he had was the power, the area of life that adds the boost to who you really are, and he felt comes into play after you're 30 or 40 years old.
That definitely sounds like pinnacles. It sounds very similar. And absolutely. And in particular, with spiritual paths, like there is an individual who I met, and she had a 50 spiritual path. And the interesting thing about her story, there was and in doing her a quick little reading, it was like, these are people I meet on the street, and or I go into someone's like salon or shop, and then we just connect, and I'm like, oh, okay, let me tell you your spiritual path. And literally, I saw from the 50, I said, you were born into your family as the one who would stand up to the bully. I said there was a male energy in there, and it was negative, and there was some stuff going on, and I believe there was something like a violation of your private body going on. And she was so sweet, and she started crying. She goes, no one else knows this about me. And I said, well, when you were born, you were the gift to say it stops with me. And that's the 50 spiritual path. And so I could see that. And so our spiritual path is not always easy, but it's something we take on, and it's like, I'm ready for this. And so when you're born, you are vulnerable to your family and what's going on. And usually, almost always when we're born, most of our karma is already taking place, because that's when we are most vulnerable. And so for her, that was the case. And then also, it's significant too, if I see in someone's personality the same number that I see as their karma, well, that will be typically then I will attract to me, that says I will attract to me maybe a relationship or a work partnership where I will achieve and fulfill this karma. And a lot of times you see that when someone will marry, and like if their karma is an 8 and they've married a bully, so to speak. But the personality and the karma, when they're the same number, that's always exciting, because then it's obvious what's going on and how that came about. Or if someone's karma matches their heart number, then I would say someone you truly love, and typically it's parents, or someone you truly wish you had love from, right away, that karma shows up in this heart place. So it deeply affected your heart and your relationships. And for some people, their karma is their destiny number, or their karma is their spiritual path. And so that has an effect as well. And to see how that all comes together, that's what's fascinating, and why we choose that. But then, as what you were saying, reading right there, you said 30s or 40s coming into the power. I consider karma to be that experience, which first it seems very out of balance, but then it becomes our power. So in other words, whatever, say it was an 8 and it was a bully, or we married someone and didn't expect like physical violence or whatever it was going on with our karma. Later it becomes our power, because then we step into the fact that I'm worth more, and we learn so much from it so fast through its incredible intensity. And then no one can ever take that from us again, because we are standing in our balance then. So we literally choose our karma, and then that becomes our power. So we're not punishing ourselves. We're just balancing and figuring out, where do I stand and how do I keep this power within me? And so he sounds very similar to mine, just slightly different words. I like
Yeah.
that.
You know, it's like with a lot of these ways of understanding who we are, why we're here, and where we come from. Just I guess basically, it's a roadmap for the cosmology of ourselves and life as well. Our relationship to, from the micro to the macro level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's lots of different types of ways that people do astrology.
Yes.
And I'm noticing on the YouTube people that I watch that do tarot, some people don't lay the cards out. They have their own way of laying the cards out. And then there's this one lady, she's Lilac Lantern. I'll give her a little plug. You know, she designed her own tarot deck.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And it's very unorthodox, but makes perfect sense, because she's been using them in her readings, and a lot of people that follow her wanted to buy her deck, and that inspired her to get her deck ready to be sold.
Yes.
And then people will pull out different decks for almost different reasons, or maybe they're just intuitively led. I'm going to use this deck for this situation. So it's an interesting thing how the overall universal essence of this talent takes on the individual personality of the person that's merging with that method of seeing things.
Absolutely. And part of the example that I'm using in my book is specifically, we each have our own way of doing things, but we are each given the gift, and we each have to share that, and in whatever way that comes through us. So we are each anointed individually with this beautiful holy gift, because I believe we are also holy. And then one of my examples that I like to use is, why is numerology so effective? Well, if you want to call a person, you have their phone number, and then you get a hold of them. But if you change that by one digit, you get a completely different person. And then I think I sent this to you too in an email. We use math for so many exciting purposes. And we have these brilliant mathematicians who each, as you were pointing out, did things their own way, but came up with these calculations. And then we know things about inner space, outer space, time travel, black holes. Well, why is numerology such a challenge for some to accept then, that it can be a tool for personal awareness, or maybe a tool for some extra guidance? So that part is kind of exciting to me. And it's very strange how certain religious aspects will put down tarot or psychic ability, or have to call it of the devil, when it's just the numbers, it's just the math. And there are spiritual laws, and we are part of experiencing that. And we can just do a calculation and go, oh, that's what's going on. Okay, easy to see. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Things are only of the devil if that's your intention.
Well, you know, the
What you put
12
out
notes,
comes
that
back to you.
all the music in the world is made from 12 notes, 12 tones. So it's, but people tune differently. And some people only use certain segments of those 12 numbers. And it seems that you're talking about from 0 to 9.
Yes.
all the numbers in the universe, all the mathematicians and scientists, everyone that uses numbers, they take those digits from 0 to 9 and work them in a way that can have
Yes. And then what you
phenomenal
just
results.
said, phenomenal results. And then what you said, some brilliant computer programmers didn't even use those. They just used a 0 and a 1. So we each do something our own particular way. And there's a gift from that we each bring to the table, so to speak. So like the method you were saying, I think that's beautiful. And my method worked for me, and someone else's, like you said, this other woman had her own tarot. Or for these computer geeks, 0 and 1, they didn't need like 2 through 9. They're like, that's extraneous.
I know the binary code, it's zeros and ones. And I mean,
Yes.
all the algorithms of all the various apps and programs, all these AI companies are taking the ones and zeros and doing all that individually diverse, unique work with it. It's amazing how that, we're so gifted. I do interviews with a friend. He majored he was an electrical engineer, and then he went into architecture, and then he studied naturopathic medicine.
Oh, beautiful.
And he has some very specific, hardcore, you might say, ideas about things. But he sees that when he was studying electrical engineering, he saw that there was the things he studied as an electrical engineer weren't replicated and reflected in nature. And that bothered him. So he said, I need to study something else. And he looked at architecture, he studied it, and he wanted to include nature. So he does a lot of building with earth. And he doesn't have any metal in his structures, and he uses a lot of sacred geometry. Well, he basically believes in the power of Fibonacci, the 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 59, all those numbers, that the 1.618ness, which is phi-ometry. He believes that that's, in fact, so many phenomenal people like Da Vinci, what's the name of the man? I should remember that. The 5-pointed star.
Oh, all I think is Fibonacci. And yeah, I'm not sure. I need to look that up now that you said it.
Vitruvian. I think a Vitruvian man is what that.
Oh,
The numbers of digits, like the distance, the measurements, divine proportion. Divine proportion is very important to the whole blessing of our existence.
yes.
The divine proportion that governs the galaxies and the infinite galaxies that we're discovering now. I mean, the Hubble and Webb telescopes are finding that same pattern that the Milky Way follows is out there for as far as the satellite eye has seen so far.
That gets me so excited, because that just says to me, God knows math really well, and nothing is a mistake, and everything, absolutely everything, is in this perfect divine order. It has to be, because you change one thing, one little element, and all the numbers would change. And so everything clearly is divinely ordered. That's fascinating. And then how does God throw in there, let me give you free will? I mean, where does he calculate that? That's a brilliant math brain going on. Yeah, I'm
Well,
impressed.
I love this joke. God created everything in existence, and when he created humans, he gave us free will. And he was discussing it with someone, and they said, "Are you sure you should have done that?"
Right.
So we have to take this understanding of how the gift of free will was a blessing to us, and not abuse it, and
Absolutely.
one of the things that Dr. Mosen, one of his lovely statements that I've been plagiarizing or using with permission, I'll say, is
Okay.
that we surrender in submission to serving Creator and all creation in peace and joy. And the key right now for humanity, in my way of thinking, and a lot of people, Dr. Mosen's very much an advocate of this, is that to harmonize with nature, to know that the sunflower, the shells on the beach, the wind patterns, everything in existence has this divine proportion, and there's a certain pattern recognition that boils down to the foundation of it all being the 1.618ness, the Fibonacci, the phi-ometry of everything. And that's what we were beckoned to harmonize with now, so that we live in peaceful, sustainable harmony with existence. I love how he differentiates between energy and synergy, efficiency and sufficiency. You know, there's ways of thinking, the new paradigm, the reset that we're going through and ushering this golden age of honoring the queendom comeliness of divine femininity, which men and women all have masculine and feminine aspects. To find that balance, but nature has a balance that flows in cycles and repeats itself with an inner knowingness that is so splendid. We should never think we can edge God out. He calls ego edging God out.
That's true.
And the
And yet that's a
GMO is
very
God
human,
move over. No, let
right?
nature be our guide.
You're
And
like,
one
I
of the
got this, God.
very beautiful things we see is that women's bodies flow in tune with nature.
Yes.
So
Yes.
why should we not allow the divine feminine, the queendom comeliness that's written in the prophecies of all the ancient cultures, said this time will come and you must, you know. And one of the things we didn't mention when we were discussing Joseph Campbell was his studies of world culture. He found that the first coins were crescent moon shaped.
Oh.
And the moon and the honoring of the sun tends to be represented as masculine, and the moon is represented as a feminine. But that moon, we're mostly water, the planet is mostly water. And when the moon goes through her phases, it affects the water in our bodies and our brains, and then the ocean tides and everything. So we must, if just empirically, if we observe this in nature, that's why you will say, I must surrender in submission to serving Creator and all creation, because I've empirically observed this to be true. Not everything you read in a book will be true. But as we know, our beloved David Hawkins could take passages of books and show that, wow, this passage was zooming from 700 to maybe 1,000. Sometimes the written word or paintings, everything has that a body, an energetic body, an electromagnetic field and flow.
And yes, and that field and flow has a number, and that number has a meaning.
Yeah. Well, here we go. We're going to do some numerical meanings for we want to start with Dolores Cannon and then go to Senya.
Sounds perfect. Okay.
Because I would like to just preface, Dolores Cannon manifested the quantum healing hypnosis technique, which is oftentimes called QHHT. And I wonder what the QHHT breaks down to numerically. It has no vowels, obviously.
QHHT?
Yeah, that's how they abbreviate the quantum healing hypnosis technique.
Wow. Well, when Dolores Cannon uses it, I believe it has no vowels. It doesn't need to. So that eliminates, I shouldn't say eliminates the heart, but it shows the destiny and the purpose. In other words, when we take the heart out, let me try to word this correctly. We come from a place that is non-emotional. In other words, the impersonal self. Like there's a book, it was really tiny and thin and black, called The Impersonal Life, The Impersonal Self. So it says, I no longer need the emotional journey. But then from the non-emotional standpoint, the Q is an 8. The H is an 8. The second H, there's another 8. So it's 3 8s in a row. And when we combine 3 numbers, the exact same one in a row, that's the angelic realm coming to guide and assist. And then with the T, that's the number 2. And 2 says tiny details, the smallest of the tiny details. When we go back and find them and connect with them, and then we see how that affected us on a physical plane, because the 8 says I'm affected physically on my physical plane. Then the 2, when we take the 2, the 2 represents the things we can't see, that we have to go into the emotional realm, because the 2 is the high priestess, and the high priestess keeps our secrets, and the high priestess is about our subconscious. And so the 8 says, with angelic help, I delve into that secret, sacred realm that's protected by the high priestess, by the way. And she's female, she's feminine, and she's holding information. And she literally doesn't care who's around her. But if you are approaching her in the correct way and you have the correct energy, she'll share. But she's very protective of it. It doesn't go to just anyone. And so she represents the gatekeeper of your own subconscious. And so when you connect to that through the angelic realm, because 3/8 is what you said to me, Louis, the QHH, that's the number 8, 3 times. Wow. Then you're
You
calling
know
on the
what
angelic realm.
you just did it again. Your complete ability to be put on the spot with a question without
I
any
love that.
preparation and to
Yes.
respond so spontaneously with such purity, because you know what you're going to see in Sinya's work that she learned directly from Dolores Cannon before Dolores transitioned. The book that Sinya wrote is called We Are All Avatars, and it's remembering our cosmic origins. And the book is a collection of all the people that have been coming to her from all over the world, following like those cosmic stepping stones and invisible breadcrumbs that I talked about.
Yes.
People know they must see this woman. And when they come to Sinya for a session, she is serving as the priestess that you just spoke of. And she is helping them go into exactly what you said, the subconsciousness. And that is in a nutshell, what Dolores Cannon's gift to humanity was. And you
It's beautiful.
discern that from the QHH and the QHHT.
Yes. And when I see no vowels, well, the heart is about our feelings and emotions. This says I do this from an objective perspective and I don't have to get caught up in your emotions. So it
Wow.
doesn't mean I'm heartless. That's not what that means, but it says from my space, from an objective observer. Yes. And so with the 8s there, she says divine protection, because 8 is very strong and you can't get past an 8. They're like super physically strong as well. And so the key to get to this is through the 2. Yes, the goddess. It is the supreme goddess that rules the subconscious, who decides whether you are ready or not to receive this information. Because if she gives you too much, you kind of explode. But when you are in prayer and in a quiet space, because you can't get through a brick wall, but some little tiny girl will give you a little tiny key. You can open a door and then you're allowed access. So it's really beautiful that how she calls it QHHT and what you're saying. And I think that's exciting. And by the way, whenever it is you put me on the spot, years ago, I had a teacher tell me, and she since passed away, and I loved her, Elizabeth Long. She could read your Akashic records and give you names and dates of lifetimes. But she used to say that there was, and I forget which, one of the ascended masters would step in and do the speaking for me. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But I don't trance. I don't trance at all. But it's really fun to be put on the spot because it's not me. Mm-hmm.
Well, it is the you beyond you and the all in oneness of everything pouring through you as a gift in spontaneous combustion. We're watching the
I love
spontaneous
it.
inspiration of all your inner knowingness come pouring right out. But
Oh my
this
God.
is so profound when you touch upon the way you described it, the feminine, the priestess, the subconscious, leaving the vowels out and not having any no bones to pick
Emotional,
emotionally.
yes.
You know, you're just pure objective.
Objective. It literally says, like, from a physician point of view, like, I will not become emotionally involved and I want you to go into your subconscious, but I do not want you emotionally involved either. And that's what these hypnotists do. They're like, let me, like, they'll have a touch or a tap if the person they're putting under is getting too emotional. So the healing process is about delving into the emotions, but without bringing our own. So we take out a piece here and there, and then we connect it and see how that relates to present day. And then, oh, from a logical standpoint. So the 8 says, my healing comes from the standpoint of logic. It's first the logic and then the healing follows. Because once we can put down the emotions and see it from that objective standpoint, we've put down our judgment as well, and the rest can just really fall into place. So we kind of get stuck and we put our emotions in the way of our healing process, or how, we would like to filter information. The moment we put a judgment or an emotion there, well, it has to stick. And this is saying, get those emotions out of the way. Not that emotions are bad, but we become, when we are able to separate that and go into that place with safety, because 8 says, I'm protecting you. And you're not going to you will see the emotions, but you will not feel them. And you will see why. And the why is the logic. And the logic clicks in place the healing that falls into place from this process that she does of QHHT. Yeah.
Profound. Now, what does the T add to that mix?
Oh, the T is the 2, and the 2 is the high priestess.
Ah, okay. Thank you for reminding me. You did say that.
Absolutely. So it's like, here are all these big, huge hunkin' 8s, which I see, like say a horse is huge, or like a big, huge draft horse, 3 of them, they're huge. You can't get through them. You can't push them. And then the 2, it's that beautiful, delicate, feminine energy. And she's fearless. She'll get on one of those big horses and ride around and be perfectly safe. And they do her bidding because they love her. So there you go.
So sweet. So sweet. That's perfect. Thank you so much.
You're
Well,
welcome.
let's see what Dolores Cannon's reading has to share.
Got it. So I think I had something in my mouth. Excuse me. So in doing the word, her first name Dolores, a 6, and a 5, I get the number 17. So from just her first name, the vowels, so the subtotal, the 17 is the star. And I love the star because the star in the tarot I'm familiar with, I know there are many different ones, but it shows a female at night, and it's dark, and she's quietly, gently filling up her urn with water. She's at the river filling it with water, and the star says, there is darkness, but you will shine brightly, and that darkness needs you to guide the way. So we as humans, we get lost, and in the darkness typically represents our own subconscious, but the 17 says, I'm the bright spot, you follow my lead. And that's in her heart. So she knew before she was born that this would be her calling. And this is something she had done previous lifetimes because it's in her heart position, her vowels. So she was the healer of whatever village she was in. She was likely the shaman, or she was likely the medicine woman. And I say woman because she wanted to add the feminine to it. And I'm sure she had masculine lifetimes as well as feminine. It doesn't matter, but I'm feeling in particular with this energy that she recently had a few female ones. And I say that because with the 1999, that whole time frame of the 1,000 years of being under the one rule, now we're under the 2000, there was a lot of masculine, as it was supposed to be, but she wanted to insert a feminine quality into that to prepare the masculine for that balance and transition into, now we're in the year 2000. So, and it takes guts to be one of the first, and she was, and it's not easy. It's easy that the work you and I are doing on the backs of pioneers who did it before, where this would not have taken place. And so she was one of those as well. So she was a healer back then. For example, if you were to help a woman give birth, you could have been taken and burned as a witch because you were trying to take away pain that belonged to this woman because this woman was a sinner or she wouldn't be pregnant. So she had no fear. She still doesn't, by the way. So she wouldn't care, and she would go when it was the middle of the night to help like a baby being born or whatever it was her healing job was. But and so she brought that same energy with her into this lifetime. For one part, the one part of the 17 says, I'm fearless and I know my job and I know who I answer to. It's not you, it's me. So she already knew she was answering to herself. And 7 says, I delve into the realm of the subconscious to receive my healing information and my gifts and my tools. So there's the one, I'm the boss, and 7 says, I go to these realms of the subconscious, and we combine that. It's the 17, the star, and that's my healing gift and modality I share with you. And I don't care who believes me or not, because she's been called all the names in the book because she was doing this years ago when it wasn't accepted. Mm-hmm. So that's from her. But I want to also point out the name Dolores. That's the 17 for her vowels. But then when I add her consonants, and I'm double checking to get 10, Another 17, Louis. Oh my gosh. A 17 on top of a 17. So her vowels add up to that and her consonants for the name, just the name Dolores. So like I said, each name we have is a sacred contract we have that we fulfill. So it's a story we share with others. So here's her heart. I love this healing work I'm doing. I've been doing it for many lifetimes, and I don't care who believes me or doesn't, but I'm going to keep doing it. And then her personality is drawing people to her so that she can continue her work. So she gets to do the work she loves. And the people just show up. Like people knew, wherever she was born in her last few lifetimes, they would find her. People would find her, even if she wasn't advertising. They'd be like, that woman over there, she tends to, people come out and they seem better or balanced. So people find her. So personality number says these are the type of people attracted to her. So, and then the type of energy she projects. So she's projecting exactly what her heart is. She is seen as the healer and she is the healer. So she speaks truth right from her heart. And then we add that up, 17 plus 17. And I love this because 17 plus 17 is 34 by my math. Thank God this math is, yes. Sometimes I'm like using my fingers and carry the one.
How many toes and fingers do you have?
Not enough for all my adding. I need a few more. But when we see the destiny number, this is for me, my definition. When I add the vowels to the consonants, I then get the work you do or your destiny, the profession you find yourself in. 34 is all about healing, being a healer. It's a 7 energy. So we have 17 that has a 7 in it for heart, 17 that has her personality, another 7 in it, and her destiny, the 34. So her work is to do work on the plane on a level that other people do not easily have access to. So if she hadn't been a hypnotist, she would have been a shaman. So whatever it is, the 7 rules, those things you cannot access with your typical 5 senses. So if you can see it, touch it, taste it, or feel it, that's not the level she's working at. So the 34, and very often, and I'm not sure if she has a middle name or not, but let me just do a quick check here. We have 1, I don't see it, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't see 7, 8, or 9. Very often when the 7 work is your destiny, and if Dolores Cannon, if she has a middle name, I can change this, but at the moment I don't see a 7. So it would also be her karma. So very often if 7 is predominant in your chart, you don't have great physical strength. The energy you have is in your mind and in your ability to travel to other dimensions and then bring back that information and act as a translator, so to speak. So it's very challenging to have physical strength when you have all these 7s, because 7s say spiritual strength. They don't say body strength. So I wouldn't be surprised if she's had some physical body challenges, and also the 7 doesn't have 70s, a lot of downtime. But her 34 says she must travel. The 34 is excited to share what they've learned about healing, and the 34 literally travels because the 34, 35, 36 is our 8 of wands, and our 8 of wands shows these wands and water, and it means speedy and fast and teaching. So she goes to places to travel and shares information, and then she goes to other places. And I think she even said, I'll be going to, I don't know, did she say England or wherever it was she said she was going to next, but it was out of the country. There's a lot of traveling she does to share the knowledge she has. And it's beautiful because she's attracting the right type of people, the people with intention to use it for the same healing purposes. Because people are thrilled and excited with what she's been saying, and she's known this for many years. And 7 also, by the way, deals with that which is old and ancient. So 7 understands things about Akashic records and lifetimes, and 7 always delves and has respect for the old, like museums fall under that category. Like, here's something ancient, we still have use for it. So the 7 takes something from way back in ancient times and brings it back again for healing. So this says to me, she understood in her past lives the importance of ceremony, the importance of honoring a certain side and aspect for healing. And 7 also, like I said, delves into all the realms of the subconscious, for her healing modalities. So this wasn't something she could have learned from someone. It's something she's been doing for lifetimes, and then she was ready for this new way she's doing it. So she literally is in communication with beings from other dimensions. And so she's just always tuned in. There's just, it's like a radio frequency, and where many of us are like, oh, my five senses and maybe a little intuitive. And that's not a put down for us, those of us who are good at whatever, because we need all of those. Hers is just a different frequency. She's been studying it for many lifetimes. She's a natural at it, and that's why she's so open and clear with what she shares. But the physical body, I would say there are challenges there, because the 7, it's not easy to be in the physical realm with the physical body when you're a 7, strong 7 energy. It's like, so what I say is that thankfully the 17, even though there are 7s there, that helps balance her physically, but she needs a lot of downtime and a lot of time to just where no one's around her, where her door is shut and she's taking a nap. And 7s need water more than any number, because the flow, it's all about the flow with the 7. So going to her last name, Cannon. Oh my God, this is cracking me up. So yeah, she's kind of hogging the 7s here. The A and the O, that adds up to a 7. So her heart number for her last name, Cannon, there's another 7. So I would say she very likely had issues. A lot of times the 7 will have eye issues or vision issues, but 7s also are very affected by the energy of the people they're around. So very early on as a child, she knew the people who would come into the house, the ones she liked and didn't like, because she could feel it before they were knocking on the door. And she was always on a different realm, on a higher plane. So her challenge, she would love to be able to share and teach all that she's sharing and teaching, but she's like, God, do I have to have a physical body to do this? Because, oh my gosh, that'll just weigh me down. But yes, she did. So she willingly came into physical form. But again, the interesting thing with the 7s, this happens always with the 7s. Whenever there's an ailment that a 7 has, you can't get help from a regular medical doctor, because it's not a regular, easily identifiable thing. The 7 likes secrecy, likes to have it covered. So anytime you're a huge 7 chart person and you're not feeling good, you need your shaman, or you need your energy person to help, tune up the chakras, or something that's deep. And you can't get that from regular. There's a time and place for regular, not putting down regular medicine. That's essential in certain aspects, but not with your 7s. She needs water, quiet time, and lots of napping and being away, and then she can be out teaching. So the 7 says, I'm excited, I want to share, but don't get too close to my space, because if you have a negative thought, I'll feel it. So I've even seen her on a YouTube video. She sits in a chair and she's saying this information that I love listening. I love listening to her, but I don't see people around her, and she doesn't need or shouldn't have people close into her space. So it's not touchy feely huggy. So, but the 7 is deeply emotional, deeply intuitive, because they're always tuned in to the emotions and feelings of others. So this is the challenge. This is why she needs a little space. So what she's doing is perfect. She clearly, with the last name Cannon, with the 7, has been doing this many lifetimes. I would say not just 5, at least 7, maybe even 17 lifetimes. And then with the consonants in Cannon, oh, I love this. Adds up to 18, the moon.
Wow.
The divine feminine. And you were just talking about, Louis, this is so cool. Even the things you say, and then I do this and I just repeat kind of what you said. It's in synchronicity. I love how you do that. The 18 literally says she understands the cycles, particularly of the subconscious mind. She was so intrigued with the mind of the subconscious. I believe that's probably why she went into the work she did of being the hypnotist, because 18 says, the subconscious mind is the journey which I am seeking. And while I'm seeking this journey of the subconscious mind, I will go to the depths. And the subconscious likes to bring out all the depths, but not just for her, for all of humanity. And this shows in her personality numbers. So she attracts people to her who have serious issues with mental illness, who she's been able to assist with. And hopefully, based on her work, regular medicine will look at what she's doing and add that to develop protocols based on her work to assist, as opposed to just here's a pill you need. Sometimes you do, sometimes you need that pill, but maybe can we try this first? So hopefully, based on the work she does, there will be protocols put into place in regular, typical insurance paid type of medicine for mental health. She's all about the mental health, and in particular, she helps people who are recovering from like trauma, illness, cancer, something death defying. None of that scares her. She's just comes from a very strong place. She knows who she is. She's fearless. She can't be bought and paid for. That's already been tried to happen, and that didn't go over well. She just she just laughs. She's like, yeah, no, not even talking to you. So she won't entertain anything that would take her anywhere out of her integrity. That's not even a question for her. She loves the work she does. And then from Cannon, when I add the 7 from the vowels and the 18 from the consonants, I get the number 25, which is our Knight of Wands. Oh, wow. Our Knight of Wands says, I have a journey. It's a big one. It's a long one. And I got a lot of work to do. But it's also on the spiritual plane, because 2 plus 5 is, again, another 7. Wow. She's loaded with these 7s. Yes. Oh my gosh. In fact, I'm impressed that she makes it to other countries, because getting in an airplane and being in that like tight energy, and even the sounds, she's probably has very delicate, sensitive ears as well, because she can hear and see things that aren't available to someone else. So with her 7s always being in tune to the softer, gentler frequency, it's got to be painful for her to fly. She must need earplugs or something. I don't know, but that would be interesting if I ever if I ever got to say hi. It'd be like, so do you need earplugs to fly? Something like that. She needs her, to be protected. But the 25, our Knight of Wands, they take on, and she takes it on through her healing abilities. They take on, it's her destiny, Louis. Her destiny is to take on this massive ball of emotional energy and to help that process find the healing source, but not through any modality that's normal and typical, and not through anything that got, this was all self-taught. So her degree was useful for about 30 seconds, however long it took. And then that's like, okay, now let's get to the good stuff, like right away. So the 25 says for her job, she knows that there's this big ball of emotional energy, and it's like this yarn or this thing that's all knotted. And she's like, well, people have certainly got themselves into a big knot emotionally. So God, you send me down there because I'm brave, I'm gutsy, and I'm just in tune always with you at all times. And you just send whoever you need to. And boy, that's exactly what she did. That's her sacred contract.
May I interject something?
Yes. Yes.
You mentioned her last name had 18.
Yes.
And you mentioned 25.
Yes.
Well, I put my fingers and toes together, and guess what those add up to?
What does that add up to?
43, and it's a 7.
Another 7.
Confirm that. Did I get it right?
Well, that does 18 plus 25 does add up to that. It does. Oh my gosh. And 18 is a 9 energy, 1 plus 8. And the interesting thing about the 9, again, the 9 is the number of the humanitarian. The 9 says, I will teach. She agreed to be the teacher before she was born. And so anytime you take any number and you add a 9 to it, you don't change that number, you just change its frequency. So you take the number 3, add 9 to it, you get 12. 12 is 1 plus 2, again a 3. Well, you take 9 and add it to any number, you're just increasing its frequency, but not changing its base. So 9, the humanitarian says, whoever you are, the way you are, I accept you, but I'm just going to raise your frequency.
Well, I don't know if I'm speed learning from you, but when you say add the 1 and the 8, you get 9.
Yes.
When you add the 2 and the 5, you get 7.
Yes.
And
yes,
that's exactly 7
right.
and the 9, you get 16, which is 7 again.
Yes, that's why numerology is, yes, it's the best math you could ever do, Louis. You see, you're a numerologist now. Well, now let me add up her grand totals, because that was each name individually, which clearly we can see she's doing that. And this is why, like I said, I like well, now I'm calling it to honor its Starr numerology, because when we add each name individually, we see the person's work, where it comes from and why. And this is so true with her. And so when I add her vowels from Dolores and Cannon, the 17 plus the 7, I get 24. 24 is our Queen of Wands. So she says, wherever I am is my home. So she's okay with doing this traveling. She makes it her home. She puts her energy out there first, and she's protected. And 24 says, you are safe in my home. And literally, when someone has to go under hypnosis, they need to feel safe.
That's right.
And in particular, in this time of so many people in positions of authority who then are, well, not ethical, and they might take advantage of a person in a state of vulnerability. Not her. She's true to who she is. And the 24 says, you are safe while this healing is going on, or anytime you're around me. This is a safe place. Because like I said, people have tried to, negative energy has tried to get to her, or to try to get her to change her ethics or whatever. It's just, they don't stand a chance. She doesn't even give it, it doesn't even happen. In fact, I would say energy of that sort would evaporate before it can even get too close to her. That's But her 24 says, I'm protected, and this is my queendom, basically. So she knew she wanted to be represent the feminine, and so she also chose the feminine form. And she does that on purpose because she needed to shake up the masculine establishment. And I'm not including all masculine in there at all by any means. We have so much masculine to be grateful and thankful for. She wanted to shake up the masculine that was destructive, or that was trying to hold people in a control pattern. So that's why she also chose feminine. So she said, let me just give it an extra little, here I am, and there's nothing you can do about it, because I have guts, and I'm not scared of y'all. She's not scared of anyone. And she just does what she does. She gets up, she listens to herself, and those are her orders. She takes orders from herself. No one else can get in there, and that's perfect. So her connection, mind and heart, they're in alignment. And then let me add up from her personality number, the 17 from Dolores and the 18 from Cannon. So there's a 5. Wow, she is strong. So I get 35. When I add up 17 plus 18, that's 35, hopefully. I don't quite have enough toes. But the 35, this is our 9 of Wands. Wow. The 9 of Wands literally shows a man on his knees. He is praying for the strength to get through. So she has had some very intense, I would say, personal experiences that were as intense as she is gifted as a healer.
Wow.
So, and these usually almost always go hand in hand. Like, there have been some powerful forces trying to stop her. And her 35 energy, she would just take a prayer and literally continue her work. Because I'm literally feeling like something like really big, because the 35 says, I am super strong and I am praying for help, because the 35 in numerology with the tarot are 9 of Wands. Literally, that man says, God, just get me through. I got to get through. I'm almost there. And there's battle after battle after battle. She has literally, I don't know, I don't think it's quite right saying she's fought demons, but to that same extent or level of energy that she's had to battle just to do what she's doing. So, and she doesn't really share that, and she doesn't talk about that, but I can see this in her personality number, where she's had to go up against whoever it was, because the 35 says, I'm almost there. I cannot give up. And the work I'm doing is that important. So I'm down on my knees praying, God, give me strength to do this another day. She's literally said that prayer. And then when I add up the 34 plus her 25, 2 different 7s, each name, there's a 9. Oh, wow. So I get 59, a 24 plus 35, and the 59, that's our 5 of Swords, Louis. The 5 says, I will travel, and she does, to other countries, foreign lands, foreign cultures, foreign people, foreign languages. What she teaches is translated to other languages. I will travel and share this. And 9 says, I am the teacher. But because it also adds up to our 59 in tarot, and because it's our 5 of Swords, the swords cut away the crap, cut away the clouds, and literally in the sky, she literally communicates with beings from other planets or extraterrestrials, however she words it. I would use her words, not mine, just trying to describe what I heard her say, paraphrasing. She literally gets communication from other worlds. So she doesn't just translate things that she knows that she's done and she's studied, but these things come from all over. And she uses it to better humanity. And literally the sword that the 59 has, it literally shows there's she sees the suffering, she saw the suffering going on, and she knew she'd be ready for this. So she was like, put me down there and I'll just keep saying prayers to you, God, and you just lift me up every time I get down. Because it was a heavy burden for her, Louis, to continue to do and be and do and share what she has done. It could have been at a great cost to her, and she was told and shown that, and yet she chose to anyway. So she's an unstoppable force, but not that there wasn't resistance, because there was a lot trying to stop her. And literally, the destiny number 59 shows a battlefield, and it shows a man who's raising a sword like he won, but he looks around and people are like, it's a bloody battle that she had to fight to get to where she is. Because literally, when you want to help someone with their subconscious, you are taking power away from negative entities who feed off of that. So she literally had a spiritual battle fought every time she said a prayer, every time she didn't give up, because there were many times she's like, God, you have to help me get through, because on my own, I'm not strong enough. You want me to share this message? You send your angels, because they're after me. And they were. So there was something huge that she made it through, and God bless her, because now it's something as I can access as easily as going on YouTube. So you and I can watch her anytime we want.
To be continued.
Okay.
All right. And we will talk about Sinya and her book, We Are All Avatars, Rediscovering Our Cosmic Origins. And who knows what's in store there, because as we know, nothing happens by accident. So it wasn't by accident that Sinya got to study with Dolores. And now Sinya has put together this book based on all the subconscious journeys she's been overseeing as the priestess, taking people into those subconscious realms.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait.
So bless you until we meet again.
Thank you. I love you, Louis.
Divine dittos.
Well, that's it for Here and Now. But until we meet again, this has been Louis-Virie Blanche thanking you for listening to Conversations with Elders on Glastonbury Radio 432. Bless you.
Quantum physics in the kitchen sink, the energy that follows the thoughts you think. Quantum physics and the cosmic sea, laws of nature too heavy for me. It's too cosmic, much too cosmic for me. Much too cosmic, much too cosmic for me.